Please be seated. The court is now in session, and the floor is given to the Deputy Co-Prosecutor to put a question. You may proceed first, Mr. Witness. Witness. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to emphasize 3 points. I mentioned only 1 point this morning, but not the other 2. It is about the assembly of the center. I told the co-prosecutor that was the 4th assembly on National Congress, but in fact it was the 3rd National Congress. That is the first point I would like to correct what I said this morning. Number 2, I want to inform the chamber of what I have not told the court yet. It is about a document stating the involvement of Uncle Nguyen in S21. The confession of Kung Kien alias Ng Nguyen, that individual was from Division 164. I made an observation to the co-investigating judges that all annotation by Sun Sen to the upper echelon were sent to Pol Pot. In the heading, it's those documents states to brother, but for the document I mentioned this morning, it said to brother Nguyen Chia. And why that document was sent to Nguyen Chia? It was because at the time Pol Pot was sick, and Nguyen Chia was acting as the acting Prime Minister. This is an evidence proving that Nguyen Chia was involvement in the task as well, and was connected to Pol Pot. Another document concerns the annotation on the confession of Mok Sam Ol alias Hong from the Ministry of Economic in relation to malaria. That annotation I responded at the time was concerning Sun Sen, but later on I corrected the statement and stated that in fact that annotation belongs to Nguyen Chia. And in every task there was involvement by Nguyen Chia as well, although Sun Sen was to perform certain tasks.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. We will later on, at some point, we will go through some documents. We are aware of those documents, and I have some new ones that perhaps you haven't reviewed. We will cover that. I want to come back to ask you one clarification or follow-up regarding what you told us this morning. You indicated, you listed 6 people who were the members of the political center in Phnom Penh. And I'd like to ask why you included Khieu Samphan in that group, and why you didn't include Tamok and Sao Pim.
I am a bit tired, so I need to take a deep breath before answering the question. Thank you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. I would like to respond to your question now. Regarding Tamok and Sao Pema, they were part of the 7-member group, and that group was within the standing committee of the center, and I informed and I told the co-investigating judges already. Members of standing committee of the center, number 1 was Pol Pot, number 2 Sao Pem, number 3 Brother Mok, number 4 Ieng Sari, number 5 Von Wait, number 6 Son Sen. I did not recall the last one. Number 1 again, Pol Pot. Number 2, Ankol or Brother Nuon. Number 3, Brother Pum. Number 4, Brother Mok. Number 5, Ieng Sari. Number 6, Von Wen. Number 7, Son Sen. 7 of them were members of the standing committee of the center. However, 2 of them were not a part of the political center. They were Brother Pum and Brother Mok. As for Khieu Sampon, he was not the member of the center. That was the period from 1975 up to 1978. Again, Khieu Sampon was not the member of the center, but he was a member of political center. I am a bit tired, Your Honors. My apology, Mr. President. I'm a bit tired.
Witness generally, if you can go ahead, go ahead. If you can't, tell us to take a break. Otherwise, it's difficult to understand what your repeated statement, "I'm tired," means.
Let me try to ask you a few more questions, and I'll ask very specific questions. And
I want to take a deep breath. In fact, when I raise my hand, I want to indicate that I'm ready for the answers. But please do not put more questions while I'm taking a deep breath to feel a bit relaxed. Once again, Khieu Sampon was a part of political bureau, or he was a part of H70. During the investigation, President, please hold on. Duik, you have the floor now, Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to wait a little bit before making the comment I'd like to make since this morning, but I think that for the purpose of the clarity of this discussion, and in order to have short responses, we know, and we know this from case 021, that the witness studied a lot, studied the case file in depth, as well as elements that he did not have in his possession during the facts. And in his questioning, he responded that he was making many comments in relation to documents that he saw post facto. So maybe it might be useful to make a distinction between what he knew back then and what he might have deducted by reading documents post facto. It's important because otherwise we do not really know where his knowledge comes from, and we cannot make a difference between what he's saying as a witness and what he's saying as a person who analyzed documents like we have. So I think that this distinction should be made, and given this morning's responses, it's important to do so now so that the examination can take place in a smooth, inaccurate manner.
Mr. President, I will have more detailed questions about the witness's knowledge of Khieu Samphan later. I wanted to follow up on for him to explain his comment this morning. We will get into that in full detail, Council can be assured. This is a witness, let's remember, who was the head of the Santabal, the head of security in Democratic Kampuchea. One of his most important functions was to know who was who in the regime, who held what positions. We will get to this, Council, and you certainly have the chance, she will have the chance to cross-examine when it's their turn to ask questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually had an objection according to the same lines as my colleague Guisset. I think it is very important that right from the start the witness should give testimony as to what his contemporaneous knowledge was. I know, we all know, that he has given lots of evidence in relation to who were members of the Standing Committee. If he would add, I know this because in 1977 it was Pang who told me, I have no problem with it. But if he uses his knowledge of David Chandler's book on S21 or all kinds of other secondary sources or the case file, that is very problematic. So it would be my suggestion, my very strong suggestion to the Chamber, to instruct the witness from the very beginning to tell what his contemporaneous knowledge was and not what he has from books or from his case file.
Again, Mr. President, there's no indication the witness is testifying to books. He reported to members of the Standing Committee. He is one of the only witnesses in this trial who reported directly to the Standing Committee. To suggest he doesn't have knowledge of this is ridiculous. And they are certainly able to cross-examine the witness when it's their turn.
Sorry, it would appear to me that the witness so far has always said where he has his things from. He mentioned statements frequently, so it was quite obvious his knowledge was from those statements. I mean, asking him after each sentence, he says, where do you know that from, is certainly not a practicable way. And so far, I don't see a problem. Obviously, you have the opportunity to cross-examine in cases where he doesn't say where the source is from. But so far, he actually was the one who has said frequently, I have this from here and from there. And
បាទអរគុណហើយ
President, thank you. Now, the matter is dealt as follows. We cannot really distinguish between the knowledge of the witness and what he have experienced during the later stage, that is during the stage that he was the accused in case 001, and this witness used to come and testify as a witness in case 002/01. So the chamber advises parties to be cautious and to be aware of this, and please ask about the source of his knowledge and when did he start to learn that information. And if the witness answer the question based on his observation, experience, and also his knowledge during the time that he was performing his task at S21, I think that is not an issue. And the chamber would like to inform and advise Kang Gek Eo that you may maybe feel tired because of your health issue, and I understand that you have informed the chamber that you will only tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so your testimony will contribute to the assessment of the truth before the chamber. Mr. Witness, you are advised to respond to the limit of the question put to you. By doing so, that can help with your health issue. And as you know, the testimony of you is scheduled to take place 9 days. And I advise also parties to put short questions to the witness, and you may only respond or explain in detail of the question that was put to you for that purpose. For short question, please respond in summary as well. Then there will be follow-up question for you to explain further on the question put to you. That can help you with your health issue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I will, in one of the further days later on, I will ask you some specific questions about Q Sampon and how you know that. What I want to focus you on now briefly is the first meeting you had with Noon Chea. You referenced that this morning. This is when Son Sen had left for the battlefront. Can you tell us your first meeting with Noon Chea? Where did that take place, and who was there?
Mr. Co-Prosecutor, that was on 15 August 1977. To my recollection, Comrade Pong called me to work with a brother, but he did not tell me exactly who that Bong was. After I was called by him, I took the motorbike and went to Suramrit Buddhist School. And after my arrival, I went to the upper floor and met Nuon Chia. on that day, that was the first day that I met Brother Noon. I did not say much at the time. Brother Noon told me that Comrade Kyo went to the battlefield, so I was to work with him from that time onward. And again, that was the first time that I met Brother Noon.
Was it just you and Noon Chea in this meeting? Was there anyone other than the two of you?
I was called to work with the brothers, and in the meeting there was only me and Brother Noon, and the same what happened in the case I was invited to see Brother Kyo. I put on my diary short notes of what happened on the day. In the meeting there was only two of us, no third person in that meeting.
And here's what I'm interested in about this meeting. At this first meeting with Noon Chea, did he already know what S-21 was, what it did? Or did he have to ask you to explain what is this place, S-21?
He briefly discussed the point with me, and what he said was that Brother Kyo went to battlefield, so I had to work with him, and it was clear that I was his subordinate. So in short, he was aware of it.
How long did this first meeting last?
I did not watch my clock, my watch at the time, but it was a very short meeting.
Do I understand correctly then that at this first meeting you did not have to spend hours explaining to Noon Chea what S-21 was? Is that correct?
Thank you, Counsel. I did not spend hours with him. Meetings with Brother Noon mostly lasted for 10 minutes, the most.
Thank you. I'm going to turn now to a subject that I'm going to spend a little time with. It's a key issue in our current trial, and it concerns the treatment of former Lon Nol officials and soldiers. Can you tell us, were Lon Nol soldiers and Lon Nol officials and police, were they targeted for arrest and execution in the period after 17 April 1975?
Allow me to briefly inform you of my background. I was at Om Leang on the 17th April. Then I was called to join a study session on the 20th June. And on the 15th August, I was with Nan, and I was informed about the establishment of a Sunday Bar, and at the time I was told that Nan was the chief of that Sunday Bar and I was the deputy. And then I started my work. At the time, in fact, the Sunday Bar had been established before my involvement in that center. I was first assigned to go collect documents at houses of Lunol, Van So, etc. The documents would be kept at S21, and those documents remain today. In mid-October, I was assigned to do the interrogation tasks. Former officials and soldiers had been arrested already, and I was involved in the interrogation of former workers from K10 that factory produced pepper. Concerning Buddhist monks and former officials and soldiers had been screened already, said the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Let me focus you in on one specific thing you've said in the many interviews you've given to ask you for some clarification on this. Your Honors, I'm going to read from the witness's 7 July 2002 interview, E3/529, English 00329-130, Khmer 00095-693, French 00327-360. This is what you said in this interview. Quote, after Liberation Day, I saw people all along the roads and cars parked on the middle of the roads. Later on, I heard that the sub-district committees selected and divided the people and took a number of them to be smashed. They were military and police officers. End of quote. My question, Mr. Witness, do you remember what sub-district committees you were referring to and how you heard that some sub-district committees had divided the people and taken military and police officers to be smashed? Can you tell us what the source of information was?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. Let me clarify the point that this is my statement, what you quoted. At the time, I was at Om Leang when I mentioned, in fact, I was at Om Leang, and I left Om Leang for Phnom Penh on 20th June during the evacuation of Phnom Penh. The one who wanted me to go to Phnom Penh was Mom Nai. He wanted me to go there and discover if there were his relatives sent to Phnom Penh, and he wanted his relatives to be back home. The sub-district committee of Om Leang did the screening, what I meant in the document.
And how did you know about the screening that was done by the Am Leang Subdistrict Committee?
I think I made it clear just then. It was Brother Mom Nai, and I believe you still recall his name. Mom Nai had some relatives living in Phnom Penh, and he knew about the evacuation. So he asked me to go and check at some place that was the assembly point, in case that his relatives were there. So he would request them to go and live with him. That's why I knew about the assembly.
Thank you for clarifying that. Division 703. What did you know about Division 703's role in arresting or executing Lon Nol soldiers and officials?
Regarding the role of Division 703 in relation to the arrest of officers and soldiers, I did not obtain that information from NAD. What I knew was from those young men in relation to the evacuation of people during self-criticism session. A member of a company named Man said that during the course of the evacuation, people had to be moved, and if they refused to, then they would fly into the air to scare them off so that they would move. And another young man, Sam Mat, who was a jam person, as well as Yu Peng Kri, that is another person, talked about the same matter. They also spoke of Hut Tat, the chief monk, who had many affairs with women, and for that I made my personal conclusion that he would be the subject of the arrest by Division 703. And later on, those young men from Division 703 spoke at length about a special commando unit in the Lon Nol government led by Hem Dara, who was used to throw grenades. Kem Dara was later on arrested together with 3 truckloads of ammunition. So this information was not official, but I learned it from those young soldiers while I had a role to play at S21.
Let me ask you about another statement that you've given. This is Your Honor's OCIJ statement E3/429. E3/429 ERNs Khmer 00403-909, English 403-920 through 921, French 00403-932 through 333. 932 through 933. This is what you said in this statement, and I want to ask you about some follow-up, Mr. Witness. You testified, quote, "I know that after 17 April, soldiers were systematically eliminated. This was confirmed to me by Com Pin, Secretary of Division 703, and by Hor, my deputy. After the liberation, the soldiers were hunted down and fled. Pol Pot, Vornvet, and Son Sen were informed of this and asked Com Pin to monitor the situation. He told me, for example, that Generals Chea Kim Eng and Chim Chun reported to him to surrender and were liquidated afterwards. Hor told me the same thing about General Deng La Yom. End of quote. Does this refresh your memory, Mr. Witness? What I'd like to know is what it was that Pin, who became the Secretary of Division 703, what exactly did Pin tell you about what had taken place with Lon Nol soldiers?
Allow me to clarify this matter. The name is Kham Pin, not Kham Pen. Kham Pin and my wife came from the same village and commune. And initially he was a deputy secretary of Brigade 703. And he spoke to me that we were frank to one another and that my wife and him came from the same native village. He said that after this 17 April 1975, the situations of those soldiers were rather chaotic, and Pol Pot told Kim Pin to monitor and control the situation. And Pin said, who gave orders to soldiers, to the Khmer soldiers, to arrest those former soldiers? Upon hearing that, combatants actually were fleeing. And General Chia Kum Aing came to salute him, mentioning that he was a general. And later on, General Chim Chun also came to salute him. Chia Kum Aing and Chim Chun were later taken away and killed. And upon the arrest of the two generals, the situation seemed to quiet down. I cannot recall about General Dem La Jom. I am not sure whether at that time this general also went to salute him.
Mr. President, at this time I'd like to ask the witness about a document that's in evidence. It's document E3/832. E3/832. With your leave, may I provide that to the witness?
Yes, you may do that.
Mr. Witness, the document you've been handed is dated 4th of June, 1975, a document from Comrade Pin of the Special Zone identifying 17 Lon Nol military personnel the party had decided to smash. Is this the same PIN who you were just talking about? Was their military, the military division in which Nat and PIN were from, still part of the special zone in June 1975?
I cannot recall which PIN came from the special zone. I knew Kam PIN, who was a former deputy secretary of Brigade 703, but after the establishment of 21, Nat was transferred to be chief, and he became the commander of that brigade. And I am not familiar with the PIN from the special zone as you mentioned. So this document could be in reference to Brother PIN from 703.
Can I ask you one clarification? The division that became 703, had it previously been under the special zone?
Thank you for your question. And in relation to a special zone, actually special zone covered two sections. Before 17 April 1975, it encompassed Phnom Penh. Here I refer to the south and the north parts of the special zones, and they covered 4 districts, namely Saang, Koh Thom, Lek Dai, and Kien Swai. Division 12, where Nat was the commander or secretary and PIN was the deputy, was part of the south part of the special zone. And later on, this 703 was named.
Could you take a look at the names, the 17 names listed here? The document says these 17 persons have been examined by the party, and the party has decided they are to be smashed. Do you recognize any of the 17 people who are listed here?
These are 17 people through my quick review. I am not familiar with any of them.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. You mentioned how after June 1975, when you came to Phnom Penh, one of the assignments you had was to look for Lon Nol, look through houses for Lon Nol documents. Do you also remember receiving an assignment to investigate or collect information about some former Lon Nol officials who were located in Kampong Thom province in Barai? Do you remember being assigned to do that?
went around collecting documents. Documents from the secretariats of the enemy and from the military headquarters, as well as from the house of Wan So and the residence of Lun Nol. I actually gathered some documents from his residence. So I only collected these materials or documents, and my mission was not to go outside the Phnom Penh area.
What was the information that you collected, the documents you collected? What was it used for? Who did you give those documents to?
The documents that I gathered, I maintained them at S21 so that they could be used as sources for further investigation. As for some important documents, I provided them to my superior, including those documents I gathered from Lun Nol's residence, including the map drawn by the United States through a military barrack at the South Vietnam. And I can recall there were some other important documents that I provided to my superior. And I also maintained those documents written by Lun Nol, that is for my personal knowledge, including a book authored by Lun Nol, and it existed in dual formats, that is French and English, side by side. And I also gathered documents from a location like a party's house from the former Lun Nol government. And I also gathered documents from the Judicial Police Headquarters, that is a National Police Commissariat. I actually collected 2 binders of documents from that National Police Commissariat, and I maintained them at my place.
I'd like to show you another document, Mr. Witness. With your leave, Mr. President, may I provide E3/1052, E3/1052. May I provide that to the witness?
Yes, you may do so.
If you could look at this document and tell me, is this a document you recognize? Is this a report that you prepared in 1975?
Thank you. Actually, this document was requested by Nat, and Brother Osri here refers to Nat. And the purpose was to report to him on the issue of trying to arrest a number of people, including Nim Tot. And this is a 3-page document. And my purpose, that is, I did not have the authority to arrest anyone, and I'd like to actually use that document before the co-investigating judges, but I was shown only one page out of the 3 pages. And he said it's up to Brother Nat whether he decided to arrest those people or not. And that is the point I'd like to prove before the co-investigating judges, that I did not have the authority to make the arrest, and only Nat did have that authority.
I think that's clear. If you look at the very last line, it says arrest or not depends on your analysis and decision. Why was Nat referred to as Brother 03?
The practice of the combatants at that time was to refer to the direct superior by using the unit number. So usually I would refer to Son Sen as 21, or sometimes other people refer to me as S21, or refer to me as a brother from the East. And for Nat, usually we refer to him as Brother 03. In fact, it was an abbreviated form of Brother 703, that is from Division 703. But we only use 2 digits, so that we refer to him as Brother 03.
So when Brother Nat was no longer the head of 703, would I be correct then he was no longer called Brother 03 at that point?
To my knowledge, since the party removed him from S21, I did not know whether he was still referred to as a Brother 03, because after he was removed from S21, he was assigned to the Secretariat or to the General Staff, and later on was to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
The report that you wrote to Brother Nat primarily concerns 2 individuals who had falsified their biographies, claiming they were workers. What positions had these people actually held during the former regime?
In the previous regime, that is before 1970, Kim Todd was a professor of Khmer literature. While he studied at a pedagogical school, he actually sided strongly with the Lodnol's government, and he collected signature to make a petition to Sihanouk to arrest, kill Sampon. And Kam Tot used to be a former principal of a school in Kampong Thom, and Nat was to be a former director of electricity factory in Kampong Thom, so he was well aware of the background of Kam Tot. As Dean, he graduated at about the same time I graduated. Later on, He became a principal of a school in Kampong Chhnang, and after the coup d'etat by Lon Nol, he became a part of a committee of the Peace League. As for Nat, after 17 April 1975, he was busy trying to find his former fiancée, and later on he told me Nguyen Kam Ieng, that is his former fiancée, was found at Barai, and through his searching for his former fiancée, he came across Kam Tot and these other men who were falsified to be workers.
Let me read to you some testimony you gave back in 2012 about these people. This is, Your Honors, on the 26th of March 2012, E1/53.1, testimony around 14:19 to 14:20 of the afternoon. You identified who these two people were, and then you said the following after identifying their positions. That's why Nat wanted these individuals arrested in accordance with the party's policy. What I wanted to ask you is, what was the party policy that required that these people be arrested?
Regarding the party's policies, and I made mention of it this morning as well, that policies were issued in 1971, that is during the third party's congress, that all enemies had to be smashed. And another policy that was also issued in 1973, and I actually spoke at length about that policy, and allow me to reiterate the point. In the Revolutionary Flag magazine, it made mention of that policy of the special class, which included two elements, that is the former monks who actually taught people about karma. But Buddhism in Cambodia was good compared to the practices of Buddhism elsewhere, like in Tibet, as Cambodian monks were children of Khmer peasants, and since Khmer peasants were of a good background, so the monks were also of good background, and that was a part of the special class. And the second element of the special class were soldiers and police. These people held guns in their hands and killed the people with their guns. And that was the policy. However, such policy was only implemented after 17 April 1975, that is, after they took control of the country.
And specifically in regards to these two people in your report, Kim Tort and Nova, why were these two people considered enemies?
I do not know Ngova. Again, I do not know Ngova. I was talking about Dap Kam Din and Kiem Ton. But Nat says that Ngova was from the city.
នេះបងប្អូនខាង
Ngova was from the city, used to enter London resident and met Buret and Panwati frequently. So he was the secret agent of Sundara alias Sok, the secretary of Phnom Penh. That is why this individual was regarded as an enemy.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. During 1975, when efforts were being made to locate Lon Nol officials and soldiers, what happened to people who were discovered to be hiding Lon Nol soldiers or Lon Nol officials?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. I did not know about this in detail. I do not know about those who hit the former officials. Actually, screening did happen after the evacuation, and those people who were found to be had no bad elements would be sent to the base, and they were considered 17 April people.
Let me read something from another statement you gave. This is document E3 429, OCIJ statement E3/429. Khmer ERN 004030909, English 0040391, French 0040393. I quote, this was your testimony to OCIJ. If it was discovered that someone in authority had been hiding Lon Nol soldiers, he was obviously punished, i.e. arrested and executed, but I never saw a document to this effect. However, I remember that one day in 1976, Son Sen called me on the telephone and told me that he had heard that Comrade Un, Secretary of Division 310, had hidden General Nu To. I replied that it was not true because I knew that this general had been executed in Kokong by Brother Sung, commander of the West Zone. End of quote. And I apologize if I mispronounced the general's name. Do you remember this conversation with Son Sen? And can you tell us how did you know that this general had been executed in Kokong?
Mr. Co-Prosecutor, the pronunciation is wrong. It is Nu To. And Seung, the commander, was the commander who arrested Nu To. I learned that information from my wife. Let me indicate that my wife was the chief of cloth making factory from the west zone. But in fact, after the division of the zones, she was part of the West. Concerning the arrest of Suong, arrest of Nuto by Suong, that information was learned by me from my wife. And Sun Sen, Brother Kieu, asked me that whether or not Eun hit General Nuto, and I replied to Sun Sen or Brother Kieu that no, that was not true. President, thank you. It is now break time. The court will take a short break from now until 3 p.m. Court officer, please work with the security personnel to bring Duch to the waiting room for this witness, and please return him into the courtroom at 3 p.m. The court is now in recess.